It's a new team with new goals, and I'll tell you why this new year might be good for the Jaguars on today's episode.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Make no mistake about it, it is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network. And it's your team every day. Glad to have you here. Tell you where we're going and what we're going to be doing here. After I let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to those everydayers that join us each and every day. We absolutely appreciate you. I'm going to ask y'all to forgive me for my voice real quick. Trust me, this is the best it's been in 3 days, so I'm glad I'm back. I appreciate all the well wishes, but this super flu is going around and everybody knows it. But I'm here today because I got to talk to y'all before they play this game against the Titans this Sunday. Here's what we're going to do. At the end of the show, I'll talk about an hour later. When does it happen for Jacksonville? The ball didn't drop, even though the New Year's ball dropped. It didn't drop on Jacksonville. As a matter of fact, they still have the ball in their hand, and they're protecting it, man, and they're going towards their goals. New year, new team. What do I mean by that? I made promises sometimes during training camp over the last decade or so that this team was different. Most of the time, I was thinking that optimistically, hoping and wishing and giving a chance and giving grace to a new year where, you know, each and every year, these guys go out and set their goals and try to accomplish something different with new players. This year, when I said it, I absolutely meant it. I told everyone that changing everything was the best way for them to go. And the reason why I thought that was because I just kind of thought back to my uncle working on this Chevelle for like 15 years. He had this old car, nice red Chevelle with those black stripes. And he always had it on blocks. And he'd crank it up and it would sound loud. I know I realize now it was probably just therapy for him, but he never drove it. Not that much anyway. The Jaguars are not that, like before, it's like they were always just working on the same car, always just trying to add to the car that they had. And it's never seemed like they were going to get it fixed, right? Now it feels like the Jaguars are in a car that they actually use, but they're constantly adding and fixing it and tweaking it. The difference is they're covering ground. It's not just back there for them to just constantly work on and try to fix the same old car. So that's why I'm glad they got an entirely new group of people to come in here when they finally decided to change GMs and coaches and gave Tony Wiggins the EVP role. At that point, I said, this is the only hope that they have to finally get this thing moving in the right direction when they have no attachment from a previous administration or regime. And that's exactly what occurred. And they did it with a bunch of new people. They did it with everybody in those positions, coach, EVP, GM. It's the first time that they're doing it, and they had to try to make something of their own. Well, they succeeded. They've actually done it. And now Jaguar fans can absolutely feel like they're not wishing and hoping for success. They expect it. That part I did not expect to happen in the first year. I did not expect the Jaguars to be able to hit the fan base with, like in 2017, we saw everybody get fired up, and that was cool because that was the first year Tom Coughlin came back, and we sort of felt the same way. But we still used to wonder because Blake Bortles was up and down. They had a lot of enigmatic personalities, and that's I think I'm using a safe word when I say enigmatic. that thing could turn on you at any minute, and it did in 2018. It flipped. This is where these aggressive guys that kind of just started eating themselves alive. I don't anticipate anything like that happening with this group of guys. I really don't. Basically, this seems like something that is going to have a sustained, long form effort to be relevant, to be aggressive, to be one of those teams that the Titans are going to see this week when the Titans come out all bad, wondering where their next direction is coming from. They're going to see a team, and they ain't going to admit it because they hate the Jaguars, and I understand it. But they're going to see a team, they're going to say, when are we going to be like that? I know there were several times in the past that I looked at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I was just like, when they go out and play these teams, even if the games were tough, but eventually the professionalism and the fact that those teams knew that they were going to win as opposed to hoping and wishing that they were going to win, I was like, man, I can't wait till we have a team like that. I can't wait till we have a team where you're up 2 and you go on a long 7-8 minute drive and score and you put the game out of reach. Well, I don't have to wait anymore. The Jaguars are that type of team. Now, that particular scenario, because I got a lot of people that always like to fact check me, that particular scenario may not have ever happened that way. But you get the point. If they're in that situation, I believe in them. I believe they're going to close the game. And if they're the team that are behind by 2, I believe they're going to drive and do whatever they can to get in a position to win. That new attitude that came with this team this year, it took a while for it to happen. I don't know what game it was. We can talk about the fourth quarter against the Texans. We can discuss all of these other things and which games, was it the Chiefs games on Monday night and all of these. I think it's been a lot of different moments that the Jaguars have had to figure out a way to overcome obstacles and to have a short memory. Not only can you forget about the last play, if it's good or bad, you can definitely forget about the last game if it's good or bad. And that means even definitely when you have a change in organization, forgetting about the past years when things weren't good. And I think the longer you kept everybody together, all of those years were still going to be attached like a bicycle chain, right? But when you change people, those people have the attitude like, that wasn't us. This is who we are. And this is who we're going to be. And so far, it's so good. And it feels good to know that the Jaguars will show up Sunday as a team that can win 13 games and the AFC Championship, AFC South Championship, and secure a home playoff game. I'm going to give a shout out and kudos to a bunch of people, starting with the owner, and tell you, even though the New Year's ball came down, the Jaguars didn't actually drop their ball, and they won't do it anytime soon. I'll tell you why in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Robinhood. That's right, Robinhood. Nobody knows money goes better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money, and with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening and beating your PR. Beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and F's, options, futures, and crypto, all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trade from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. your money. It's your move. All right. Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars. Once again, I appreciate y'all tuning in wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. I apologize for my voice, but I've been chomping at the bit to get back to work. And here I am. So you guys are everydayers. I always like to deliver on that promise to be every day. Sometimes I just physically could not talk. And as bad as this sounds today, this is 1,000% better than it was. So I at least wanted to holler at the people before this game Sunday, because I think it's going to be very raucous atmosphere. Even though the Titans stink, I think it might be even more of a good atmosphere because they stink right now. And the Jaguars are playing for the AFC South Championship. And they're also going out to play for the pride of who they are. I think they love the process. They love going in and working on stuff and being able to come out and actually see it work in front of people. And now that they have something else to play for, which is an AFC South Championship and a 13-win season, these boys are primed to show everybody that this is a new era of Jaguar football. And I think the fans deserve this. They deserve the feeling that they're going to get, the euphoria that they're going to get from winning 13 games, which is the second most in franchise history, if they do it, which I think they will. But more importantly, it's just a stamp on a season that says this is the beginning of something. And from the very beginning, when they decided to move on from Doug Peterson, one of the things I wanted was alignment. I want them to get rid of everybody and have alignment. And I didn't think they could have alignment with the past GM, Trent Baalke. And initially, I, like most people, I was 38 hot that they decided to keep Trent. We know now the story of how it all went down, and Liam turned the job down, and then 24 hours later decided he was going to be the coach. Whether or not that was because Trent Baalke got fired, I don't know. I would think that it had something to do with it, but it's more probably with the fact that, look, if I'm going to take a head coaching job, I'm not going to screw my one opportunity up working with people where there's questions. I know that there are people that I know that we can work together and get this done. And I think that's in line with what happened with this. And there were a lot of people wondering whether or not there were enough experienced adults in the building. Well, you got your answer. The Jags didn't drop the ball. The ball may have come down 24 hours ago on New Year's Day, but it did not fall on the head of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It fell into the clutch of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now they are carrying that ball. And they're going to start that with this game on Sunday with the Titans. I'm really happy with where this organization is. I'm not satisfied. I'm not content. But I don't think this could have gone any better. I know for a fact there were people that felt like if they had 9 wins, that would be a success. But now, this is why I never, when you ask people at the beginning of the season, if the Jags win 9 games right now, would you take that? There were a lot of people that said, yeah, man, I take that in a heartbeat, because they were so used to not winning at all. I'm never one of those type people. I never want to put a ceiling or a cap on what could potentially happen for this team. And now you see why I think that way. Because you never know, man, when you do everything the right way and you go in and you work hard, there shouldn't be a cap on what type of success you have. That's why I think the Jaguars can go to the Super Bowl, and I think they can win it. I think the 49ers are going to be the number 1 seed. They're going to win that game against Seattle. That would mean that Denver and the 49ers, if Denver wins their game, which I think they're going to do, both of those teams, the Jaguars, those are the number 1 seeds in the NFL, and the Jaguars went on the road, cross country, and beat both of them. 8 points in one and 14 in the other. Why not Jacksonville? Why not right now? Why not? Why? I mean, why would you put a cap on yourself when the teams that you beat, you already beat them on the road? Now, I know it's the regular season. It doesn't matter. To me, the Jacksonville Jaguars are that young team right now that they ain't got to play by no rules. What rules? Ain't no rules. You ain't got to wait. What you got to wait for? You got to wait your turn. You got to walk before you crawl, or crawl before you walk, or whatever. No, they don't. All they got to do is go out there and win every game. When they go out there, they prepare and go out there and beat the hell out of the teams that are in front of them. You do that 3 or 4 times and you're the champions. So, yeah, if you ever ask yourself, did they do the right thing, even when it comes to trading the picks next year to draft Travis Hunter? Yeah, they did the right thing. They absolutely did the right thing. And Travis Hunter's going to still be a part of this program. And I think he's still in the consciousness right now of that team. Those guys love him over there. And no, he won't be able to help them until next year. It doesn't matter. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now a team that can win 13 games, win an AFC South Championship, and oh, by the way, you're now going to re-add one of the 2 or 3 best players on this team next year. It's almost like they're going to have a first-round pick next year. It is. You'd have never thought that they would draft Travis Hunter, win 13 games, and then somebody could tell you, well, he wasn't there for most of it. He was gone after 5 or 6 games. You'd have never thought that would have happened. But that's why you always keep your eye on the prize. And Sunday's game represents that for a lot of people. Sunday's game represents a chance to put a stamp on a very transformative year for this organization. And I don't expect them to drop the ball. I think the Jaguars are going to go out and beat the hell out of Calvin Ridley and the Tennessee Titans. If Calvin Ridley's even playing, I don't even know. But can you imagine? Just think about that. That's the best non-signing we ever had, because we'd still be riddled, no pun intended, with his salary and probably his lack of production. Sometimes the best things that ever happen to a football team is the things that don't happen, that they wanted, that end up turning out being blessings. So when does it happen? Does it happen this year? Does it happen next year or the year after that? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll walk you through it and tell you what you need to be looking forward to. I'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. There it is. I got it. FanDuel. That's right. Y'all know what it is with FanDuel, man. Fridays always feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making it even better. Even right now with football, man, with things going the way they are, this is a good time to get in on the action. I'm telling you right now, man, pick your favorite team and get you some money in your pocket with FanDuel in-game. Do it in-game. Make sure that when these games start, you're not out of the action. As soon as the game kicks off, the game ebbs and flows a little bit, and what you can do is take advantage of that. Use your knowledge. You know when momentum is swinging. It's time to get in on FanDuel and make it happen. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com, man, and make sure you tap in to FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL. Also, take advantage of NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book of the NBA. Rolling along here on Locked On Jaguars. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. Make sure y'all join the Everydayer Club. You always get me here doing our daily podcast, just like you always have wherever you get your podcast. But the Everydayer Club gives you a little bit more access, especially to those everydayers that just Jones for more. You get audio-free, ad-free audio versions of the show, as well as for as little as $5 a month, you get a chance to join and access our Locked On merchandise and so many other perks on the Everyday Club. Make sure you check that out. Once again, I apologize for the raspiness of my voice. I've been chomping at the bit to get back to talk to you guys. This is 100% better than it was. I was literally whispering for a couple of days. Hopefully, it'll subside enough for me to go down to the stadium. I certainly don't want to be the dude that walks in there and get everybody sick. I think that's selfish. So if you don't see me at the stadium, if I'm not in the press box this weekend, it's because I'm actually trying not to be selfish and get everybody all sick. I already have to avoid games where it's raining because I can't walk very fast or run. But hopefully I'll be there. If not, whether I'm there or not, you'll still get me at the post-game show, and I will be rejoining my crew on the squad show, me, O'Brien, and Marquise Ogden on Sunday after the game. But I think it's going to be a win for the Jaguars. The key is, though, when does it happen? And what I mean by it is them going to the Super Bowl. They have a very good opportunity to do that this year. Now, they're not going to talk about that. They're going to take it one day and one play at a time, and they should. I can talk about it, though. I think the Jaguars are in a real good position. I was talking to Matt Williamson on the Locked On NFL PM show, on the barbershop, on the Friday show, and we were talking about teams that have the right kind of balance. Now, sometimes balance doesn't win. Sometimes it's just a great player, and sometimes it's the people that step up the most. Sometimes it's experience. There's a whole bunch of different ways that teams have won. Usually teams that have knocked on the door. It's all setting up for the 49ers, by the way, because they've knocked on the door. And now the team that has been in their way a couple of times, the Chiefs aren't there. And they're playing it at home, and which the Bucs played a Super Bowl game at home, but there weren't any fans in the stadium because it was a COVID year. So it's really all about having the opportunity, but you don't have to follow a formula. Sometimes teams can win. They come out of nowhere. They didn't necessarily knock on the door. I think about so many teams that had that opportunity to just show up, and all of a sudden they had a magical year. That's what happened when the Patriots first won their first Super Bowl. Nobody expected them to beat the St. Louis Rams, but they did. I think the Jaguars are the most balanced team when it comes to offense and defense. The way that they played offensively the last couple of months, they're hot. They're a hot team that can run and pass, and they're in a rhythm. And then defensively, they're very, very opportunistic, and they stop the run. So they're not quite as healthy as they want to be on defense, especially on the back end, but they're playing complementary football. So when you look around the league, you think about the Patriots, maybe the Bears, probably the 49ers and the Jaguars as being the teams that are the most balanced offensively and defensively, and they're not just depending on one side of the ball. Like there are some teams that are very, very stout defensively, like the Texans. They have some questions when it comes to C.J. Stroud and their offense. But that one thing can be very, very dominant and be very good and can get you to a championship. I just think we're at a day and age where you have to have offensive production. You're going to have somebody that can put you 30 points on the board in order to win. That's just the way I feel. There's nothing to go fact check. There's nothing to go and say, well, that's not necessarily true because of this and that and the third. It's my gut feeling. I think my gut feeling tells me to win a Super Bowl, you got to score 28 to 30 points this year. So I'm looking at the teams that are good enough to keep people from scoring more than 30, but can also muster up those 30 points that they need, and the teams that have little intangibles like a kicker who can make kicks from a long ways away and who's accurate and who's hot right now, a punter who can switch field position with booming punts, opportunistic defense, the ability and the chance to turn people over a lot. So, yeah, I think it can happen this year. But more importantly, even if it doesn't, I think the Jaguars are in prime position to be one of those teams that really, really make a run at it over the next 5 or 6 years. And that's because of where they've come in this one season, the direction and the message that they've constantly sent that they'll do whatever it takes, however it takes to tweak the lineup and to fine tune it enough to make sure that they're headed in the right direction. Their ability to myopically focus on what's right in front of them today, what they have to do today in order to celebrate the things that they have to do right now to be who they want to be. I'm in a real good spot with them and the spot that they're actually in. They put themselves in this position. More importantly, I'm happy for the fans because I said it early, the transformation from thinking that it's never going to work or it's the same old Jags to the point where they are now, it's different from 2017. This feels like something that is the beginning of something that is sustainable long-term as opposed to just one-year wonder and hoping and wishing. When you have a quarterback like Blake, you love him to death and we appreciate him, but you're always hoping and wishing and wondering if the defense or if all of these other things are going to be right. You don't need that with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence right now is playing like a top 3 quarterback in the National Football League. And I think at the end of this playoff run, when you start asking people who the top 100 are and you start asking people who the 10 best quarterbacks in the league, I have no doubt in my mind that in the offseason, when people start doing stuff like that to make up content, Trevor Lawrence is going to be somewhere in that top 7, and rightfully so. 13 wins is what we're all about, man. We're trying to get it this weekend against the hated Tennessee Titans. There is nobody I would rather do this against. There's nobody I would rather have to witness this than the Tennessee Titans, that team from Nashville. Go win this game. I don't care how it looks. You want to be, looking and trending upward if you're the Jaguars, but the key is to go win this game. I'll be here with the post-game show immediately following the game, and then not long after that, the squad show will be on with myself, Me O'Brien, hosting. Me O'Brien's the host, as well as Marquise Ogden. All right, man, y'all take care. Once again, apologies for my voice, but I'm glad to be back with y'all here on Locked On Jaguars. We'll see you later.